you guys are mostly made up of siblings, so I was thinking there might be like an interesting history there. Did you grow up with that in mind, or how did that come to be?
No, no, not really. The thing, with our family, there's 6 kids in the family, and our dad was a big fan of music, and we were all music fans, and we shared record collections, and the 2 oldest in the family grew up in the late '60s, early '70s, and I sort of came along during that period too, as far as coming of age goes. So it was a great time for popular culture as far as music goes.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of music in the house. I think all of us in different ways were inspired by music, and still are, really. We're all kind of still music fans. And so that's really, it's more about being music fans and appreciating music rather than growing up. We didn't grow up as a family band. and I, at one point in my later teens, decided that I was going to pursue this. So I began to, and I had a friend, we had a family friend, Alan, who's the bass player in the band. So we'd grown up together listening to music, and we sort of set off on this journey together. And then about 6 or 7 years into that, after a couple of bands, were formed and broke up and toured and stuff, we ended up back in Toronto. And at that point, Margot and Pete, my brother and sister, were in the band, were around and unemployed, and Alan and I were sort of starting to form a new idea, a new type of music, and a new band basically. And we were looking for a drummer, and we're looking for a singer, and they kind of fell into it. It just sort of fell together, and it's been together ever since. So that's sort of how it happened.
Nice. Well, and I think I read a story too how maybe somebody's noise complaint to the police changed your sound at one point.
Yeah, it's partly true. We had had a band house in downtown Toronto, and there's a detached garage that we created for our rehearsal space, and sort of soundproofed it in quotation marks with found mattresses and rugs on the street and stuff. So it wasn't very soundproof. So our first night of rehearsal, we sort of moved all amps and drums in there and started to play. And there was a knock on the door, on the garage door. About 30 minutes later, 45 minutes later, it was the police, and they got a noise complaint. So basically, they just asked us to kind of turn it down. They were very nice about it. So we sort of figured out. I guess we soundproofed a bit more, and then we just turned down. And we also found once we turned down that Margot was able to sing quieter, which was more in her wheelhouse. At that point, she was just trying to experiment with how she sounded best, and that sort of set us off on that direction.
Nice, nice. Did she already have a background in doing vocals? Like, did she do choir, or was it just kind of something that came to her?
Yeah, she nothing formal like that. Like, we knew she sang. She had a great voice because as a kid growing up in school, she always got the lead in the school play, the school musical. So
Nice.
we knew she could sing, but so that was sort of that's why we invited her into the rehearsal room, just to sort of fool around with some ideas and go from there.
Do you think that working with your siblings presents like its own set of like pros and cons as opposed to working with strangers? Would you say like that's a better thing, or do you say it makes it a little more difficult sometimes?
Well, I mean, it's obviously worked for us. It's been going for 40 years, so it's worked. There's pros and cons, of course. For us, there's the pros outweigh the cons. Otherwise, I guess we wouldn't be together still. But
Yeah.
for us, and again, it depends on the type of the siblings. But we just communicate really well, the 4 of us, really, including Alan. And we talk about when somebody doesn't feel right, or somebody's got an issue that they want to tour us a different way. It's been 4 years is a long time, and so we've all gone through many different things. From being single when we started to getting married, to having kids, and all various things. So there's been a lot. We've had to change a lot as we've gone along just from a logistics point of view. So that's the big part of it, just sort of communicating and making sure it's working for everybody.
Yeah. That's awesome though. I think it's fun to, not only like start a journey in life with, with a set of people, but also just living your dreams together with those that you're
For
close
sure,
with. Yeah.
for sure, for sure.
How did you guys end up with the name Cowboy Junkies?
We had our first gig coming up, and we sort of the club owners, said I need a name to put into the ad, and so we just sort of sat around one night and threw names back and forth and terms and ideas, and somehow the words cowboy and junkies came together, and we said, hey, that sounds cool, let's go with that, and that's it.
Nice. And I'm sure you get asked that question every time you have an interview, but just for those
Well,
who
yeah,
didn't know.
well, I've been asked it a few times.
So you guys ended up starting in 86. It looks like that was your first album and you've had 16 total, is that right? Or is there more now? Are there more now?
I think as far as studio records go, I think we've done about 16. I think it's about 16. Is about right. Somewhere
Nice.
in there.
And do you have a favorite?
It depends what you mean by favorite. There's certain albums of ours I like to listen to, just because of the way they recorded and maybe the memories of the way they recorded or the memories of doing them. There's certain ones which, lyrically I like best, as far as them being completed, a completed sort of concept. So it really depends, So there are different ones, and that kind of changes a bit. But it depends. It depends why I'm listening to the album, or like any music, really. There's certain albums that become your favorite for various reasons, and they're all the same reason.
Yeah. Since you do have such an extensive history in music, one of the questions that I like to ask is with the changes that you have watched happen over your career, what do you see for the future of music right now?
Well, that's a tough one to answer, especially right now. It's going through another a weird cycle
Time. Yeah.
with AI coming up and everything. I don't know. I mean, what I always fall back on, what we have certainly fell back on, and it's the most visceral and primitive side of making music is playing live, right? That's what it's all about. And when you form a band, especially when we formed the band, and even so now, the whole idea is getting up on stage and performing your music. You're not really thinking necessarily about recording or anything else. It's just about getting together with a group of people, communicating through your music and getting up on stage, and then hopefully communicating with whoever's in the audience that night through your instruments and through the voices, and trying to create that energy exchange between audience and band and audience and the people on stage. So that's, to me, that's about as human as you can get, and I like to think that that's not going away, no matter how many other how many technological innovations there are as far as recording goes and getting music out there and reproducing music. I think there's always going to be a desire for people to get together in a room and to listen to music, or get together on a campfire, or get together wherever you get together, and somebody perform music. So it's a very human thing. It's very visceral, and so I guess that's my prediction, that at least that element of it won't go away. It might become lesser, and it might become as maybe not as important to a larger sect of society, but I think it'll always be there.
Yeah. I think the tangible music experience is one facet of everything that seems to that's just the thing that can't change no matter what happens with everything else, because
Yeah.
if it does, then we don't really have music anymore. It's not the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Like, it's just not, it's gone. But I can't, music's been around forever, right? So I
Hmm.
mean, as long as there's being humans, there's being music. So I can't see it going away. And so there's been a lot of technological changes since the first performance.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, looking at the way that the music industry is even built now is completely different. Obviously, you're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Completely.
So some gates have been opened while others have kind of closed on their own just from changes. So I always think it's
Yeah.
kind of an interesting question to see, especially with a seasoned musician, kind of how you are looking at it. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the music biz side of it, the business side of it is very hard to predict and figure out. But as I said, I'm not, I don't really care about that. Like, certainly at this point of our career too, we've negotiated that side of it for decades, and at this point, we don't even I don't even want to pretend to try and figure out what the next move is, because it's kind of irrelevant to me. The business side is so not connected to the music side, so way more so than when we started. The disconnection is even greater. So I tend to sort of I somehow I don't even feel it's connected to me. Like it's a whole other So anyways, it's a tough one for young bands starting up or young artists. And, where they have to deal with that side of it. I kind of I feel for them, but good luck.
Yeah, because I think that what we see is that a lot of musicians are really great musicians, but as far as self promotion goes, which is almost
Yeah.
like you have to do that now, as a
Yeah.
startup.
Yeah.
But because
We
of
always
all that, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
you always did. I mean, that's the thing. That's always been true. There's always been great musicians and great artists who never get any sort of attention, and some average ones get a lot of attention just because of their ability to promote themselves, and that's always been true. That's
Sure.
been true since there's been a music business. That's always been true.
So when the younger generation of musicians come to you and ask you for advice, how do you usually approach that?
Again, I go back to the live side of it. I said, the other side is so out of your hands. Obviously, you have to figure out how to best promote yourself on the various whatever means you have at your hands to promote yourself. But ultimately, it becomes, to me, it comes down to playing live. That's where the pleasure should come, and that's where the connection should come, and that's what the music's all about. And everything else around it is just promotion, and you got to figure out your own promotion in this day and age. So I can't give advice on that level. It's up to you what you're comfortable with. Yeah.
So on this tour, your 40 Years and Beyond tour, is that correct?
Yeah.
Awesome. Did you sorry. On this tour, what is it that you are most looking forward to, or what is it about the show even that you're most excited to share?
We've just been. It's kind of not unlike most of our tours over the many decades. We tend to we try and sort of especially over the years as we build up a catalog, we try and play as much from parts of the catalog as we can. So because the band is long, people come into the band's history at different times, and they have different favorite albums and different memories for different periods of the band. So we try and touch on all those, and then we also try and introduce new material too. That's very important to us. We're always introducing new material, whether it be a new album that's out or stuff we're working on. We try and throw in a few songs of that. So it's really just it's a career spanning show. But not self-consciously so. It just is. That's what we do. That's what we do when we play live.
Sure. Okay. Awesome. And then what's next for you guys after the tour?
We're just going to keep on. We're always touring. We're playing live. That's what we do, and we're also in the middle of recording a new record. So after the March tour, I think we go to the UK in May, and then we're back to the Southeast in June, and so we're always sort of on the road. We've never really stopped touring.
Do you have a date for the new record's release yet, or is it kind of too early for that?
No. We've just begun recording it, so
okay. Nice.
These things, you sort of let these things take on a life of their own. You just sort of follow along.
Sure. Yeah.
Eventually it comes out.
Awesome. What would be the thing that you would want people to remember the most about you?
As far as the music is concerned, as far as the band is concerned, well, I just there's I like to think, and it has been said from outside people that there's a consistency to our work. There's a quality to it, and that's hard over 40 years. It's hard in any pursuit to maintain a certain consistency and quality. So I guess that's it. Just that it's a band worth looking at. We obviously have some albums that are much more famous than others and were sold more, but with scattered in there as well, there's some other really great records that, for whatever reason, didn't get the attention. So just that there's a consistency and a quality to our work.
Heck yeah, that's a fantastic compliment, honestly, because that is a very common thing to see. That bands change over time, and there's something different, and they kind of move fan bases sometimes even, and so that's really cool.
Sure.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me. I'm really excited to see you in the Egyptian Room on March 21st.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks for doing the interview.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. And I hope that you have a great day and good luck on your tour.
You too. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye-bye.